Hi, Acadiana. Meteorologist Dave Baker here on a Thursday afternoon. It's high noon here in Lafayette. We've got some scattered showers and thunderstorms in and around the area. So it's going to be another warm and muggy one out there. I think before any rains get to you, if you got that chance to get up to about 90 for the daytime high. But there are a lot of us that have already picked up some scattered showers and thunderstorms. So temperatures are down just a little bit. We also got an update from Colorado State University. They're adjusting their forecast as they do some updates throughout the hurricane season. They'll have another one coming up in August. And the numbers are down just a little bit, but it's pretty insignificant. We're still expecting a busy hurricane season. Right now, we've got some rain here in Lafayette with a temperature at 84 degrees. Feels like 92, though. It's sticky out there. That dew point at 75. Humidity 75%, and our winds are currently out of the south-southwest at around 13. And the pressure right now is running at 30.09. So we are going to see that number going down just a little bit, or rather going up, as we've got a ridge of high pressure that's going to start to slide back in. So let's get into the new Colorado State University forecast for the hurricane season. They've lowered their forecast for named storms down to 16 from 17. So that also includes Andrea, Barry, and Chantal. So that means we could still see 13 named storms. On average, we pick up a little over 14 named storms and usually about 7 hurricanes. They're still going with eight hurricanes and 3 major hurricanes, which is a category 3 or higher. And as far as our numbers there, that's relatively unchanged. So it is a little bit lower. Some of that is due to the El Nino circulation, where it's still kind of in those neutral conditions. It was kind of looking like last year we were going to hit a La Nina, which would produce a little bit more in the way of tropical activity. But we've been in the neutral zone, and it actually looks like some of the models are trying to push us down into the El Nino zone, which would actually lower some of the numbers. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Colorado State, usually when they put these forecasts in, I know it is a specific number, and a lot of people like to jump out at that when, they predict 20 named storms and we only get 18 or whatever. But really what the main focus of these forecasts, early season forecasts, are whether or not we're going to have an above normal or a below normal season. So even though Colorado State has dropped their numbers just a little bit, it is still above the average. And the same goes from the NOAA hurricane season that was released back in May. And they're showing about 13 to 19 named storms with a 60% chance that we'll see above normal conditions this hurricane season. So let's look outside. Really interesting to see this. You could see at I-10 in Louisiana, you've got sunshine. And just down the road at the I-49 at I-10, it's pouring down rain. So we're talking about those isolated showers and thunderstorms out there. And again, there's another example. You see the westbound traffic there on I-10 heading toward Ambassador Caffrey in the rain. And then you just go 2 miles down the road to the Ambassador Caffrey exit, and the sun is shining, and it is a beautiful afternoon. A little bit of cloud cover there in Opelousas and over toward Alexandria. It looks like a lot of sunshine. Pretty beach day there on Orange Beach, and a nice day on Dauphin Island as well. Biloxi, not too bad. A little more cloud cover there. And we're looking west this time around on the Gulf camera over in Cocodrie. And you can see there's some convection there on the left side. That would be coming in from the south. And then west of us over in Galveston, not a bad day at all. But locally, you can see that we've got quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity. Put it in motion here so you can see the direction of movement. Everything kind of moving off from the south west southwest to the east northeast, so it's kind of more of an easterly direction. We've got some decent rains that are coming down here from Jennings over to around Crowley. Rain, you're about to get a pretty good downpour here. And the same is going to move over into Lafayette Parish here. So I would say by about 12:30, most of Lafayette Parish is going to be seeing a pretty good downpour. You've also got some heavier showers that are in and around areas over southwestern Louisiana. We'll zoom it out here just a little bit. There's some scattered variety thunderstorms over central 10, Law 2, and then that pushes over into southeastern Louisiana. So if you are going to be doing some traveling, keep that in mind. There's going to be showers and thunderstorms kind of on and off throughout the day. Part of that is an upper low that continues to move inland over Texas. We've also got a frontal boundary that's pushing across the lower 48. For the next several days, though, we are going to be seeing more of a ridge of high pressure developing out in the west. And I think this is going to expand a little bit farther to the east and maybe suppress some of the afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Then out to the east, you've got another upper ridge that we expect is going to be building back toward the west. So the combination of the two might start to suppress some of the showers and thunderstorms that we've been seeing popping up with this juicy air mass, but only some. I can't completely get rid of the rain chance as we head into the weekend. As far as boating, again, you got to remember there are going to be scattered showers and storms out there. Generally, winds are going to be out of the west at 5 to 10 knots, seas about 1 to 2 feet. But of course, around those thunderstorms, winds and seas will be higher. So if you're going to be doing some boating, just remind yourself, get to a safe harbor if some of those thunderstorms do develop. So looking at the big picture here on the Gulf, really not a lot going on. Yesterday, we had that flare up of showers and thunderstorms here over the Bay of Campeche, and you still have some of that there. Part of that was with that upper low that's kind of moving off toward the west. And we also had a tropical wave that was way down over Central America and Mexico, drifting to the west. So the combination of the two of those brought those showers and thunderstorms over the west coast of the Gulf. We've got some extra showers here along the beaches of Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. And then we got more of an upper low that's out here over the western part of the Caribbean, and that's driving some showers over toward the Yucatan Peninsula. You can see the upper low a little bit better on the water vapor imagery here, which kind of gives us more of a feature that we're looking at in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Remember that tropical development has to develop down at the surface, right on the water. So these upper level lows really don't mean anything except some moisture transport. In the upper levels, if you have low pressure, you're probably not going to be seeing any tropical development there. So let's move down to the south over the Central American region. And we do have some thunderstorms that are over Panama, and those are going to drift westward into Costa Rica. That's part of a tropical wave that's moving across the southern part of the Caribbean. Nicaragua, Honduras, just some fair weather clouds, maybe a few pop-up showers here and there. Guatemala, Belize, and then pushing over toward El Salvador and southern Mexico. Actually not looking too bad today. They've got a mix of sun and clouds. Meanwhile, the remainder of the Caribbean, you've got the upper low that's spinning there north of Nicaragua, but kind of over the western tip of Cuba. And then you've got some thunderstorms down over Panama. But one of the things you're probably going to notice is the tremendous amount of Saharan dust that is now starting to push into the eastern part of the Caribbean, coming in from the central part of the Atlantic. And there's a tropical wave as well down there near Trinidad, which is way down in the southern end of the Windward Islands, right about there. That's going to continue to drift toward the west and bring some showers and thunderstorms to the Windward Islands and perhaps some of the islands there north of Venezuela. Looking farther out into the Atlantic, again, you can see that plume of Saharan dust reaching the eastern part of the Caribbean and the western Atlantic over near the Bahamas. We're going to get a taste of that over the course of the weekend, so we might have some interesting looking skies as we go into Saturday and Sunday. But there are a number of tropical waves that are working across the Atlantic, and a couple of those pretty robust there off the African coast. And that's the trend that you're going to be seeing, especially as we get into August. A lot of these tropical waves look pretty good when they roll off the African continent, and then they lose a lot of their steam as they move off toward the west, toward the Windward Islands. But as we progress into the second half of July, and especially as we get into August, those tropical waves are able to hang on a little bit easier for two reasons. One, you get a little less wind shear as you get toward the middle and latter part of the hurricane season, and at the same time, the Saharan dust starts to relax too. And it's the Saharan dust and the wind shear that's really preventing a lot of our tropical activity from forming right now. So the National Hurricane Center going with no tropical activity here over the next 7 days. And even the Pacific has been very quiet off the coast of Mexico. And at this point, the National Hurricane Center isn't watching anything on that side either, and we're not expecting any tropical development over the next week or so. So let's get into the analysis. And number one thing we usually try to look at outside of the skies and the atmospheric conditions is we want to take a look at those water temperatures. And as you can see, those are starting to get to extreme levels over parts of the Gulf and the western portion of the Caribbean. We've got some water temperatures that are now starting to push 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, 80-degree water is all you need, which is about 26.5 degrees on the Celsius scale. So if you want to just talk about color, anything that's yellow or brighter on this map is warm enough with those sea surface temperatures to support tropical activity. And you can see that extends out into the western Atlantic, all of the Caribbean, and now starting to push east of the Windward Islands. And at the same time, those numbers are well above normal there, especially here along the Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama Gulf Coast. And then those water temperatures are above normal generally for the eastern half of the Gulf and the western part of the Caribbean. Now, you do have some below normal areas that are out there, but even with those numbers being a little lower than they should be this time of the year, the water temperatures are warm enough to sustain tropical activity. So, something that is a little bit more unnerving, though, is the fact of these waters up here being so incredibly warm, and then also out here in the eastern part of the Gulf. Not only do we have those very warm temperatures, but we also have some high heat content that's starting to build in here. And if you're new to Let's Talk Tropics, heat content doesn't just measure the surface temperature, but it goes below the surface. And how far that 80-degree water goes down below the surface can make a significant impact on either a developing tropical system or a full-formed tropical system can hit that area of warm water with a high heat content, and occasionally you can get some intensification and sometimes even rapid intensification. So that's why we get a little bit more nervous when we start seeing those numbers like this over the southeastern part of the Gulf and out here in the northwestern part of the Caribbean, because those are still areas that are more likely to see development during the early part of the hurricane season. So there are some inhibiting factors still. There is a lot of wind shear, although the wind shear has relaxed quite a bit over the southeastern United States. We're going to talk about that a little bit in the future forecast. But notice how the wind shear is quite high over much of the Caribbean and extending all the way across the Atlantic. And I have looked at some of the future models going in about a week and a half to 2 weeks, so 10 to 14 day range. And we're going to see a significant amount of wind shear reduction over a large part of the Atlantic. It looks like it's going to stay a little high over the Caribbean, but also might end up relaxing a little bit over the southeastern part of the Gulf. And the reason why wind shear is such an effect on tropical systems is because it's this vertical wind shear. It's blowing perpendicular to that cone or that center of circulation. So whenever you don't have a lot of wind shear, like you see here in the top example, there's the surface low at the bottom. And since you don't have anything really impacting it, that middle part of the low pressure area becomes more vertically stacked. It's more organized. And when you've got a lot of wind shear, like you have here in the bottom, not only are you going to start to wipe out some of the thunderstorms that are on the outside of the core, but you might have a surface circulation here while you might have an upper level circulation that's way over here. So when they're offset like that, it's a lot harder for a tropical system to organize. And the other inhibiting factor, as we've been talking about, is the Saharan dust. And we've got a lot of that, and that's going to continue to spread off toward the west. But next week, it looks like things might be relaxing a little bit more. So let's go into the 10-day model. And we're going to start with the GFS. And again, for the next week or so, we're not going to see anything interesting, but toward the tail end, you see a little low pressure area there off the Florida coastline. And if we just stop that on next Friday, so just a little over a week, we could see that the GFS is trying to spin up some kind of a low pressure area there along the Florida panhandle, which is kind of interesting because it looks like the Euro model is trying to get something going in that area going out to about day 7 or day 8. Now, it's not real conclusive here on the Euro model going out to Friday of next week, but you can see there's a bit of a concentration of some showers and thunderstorms there over the eastern part of the Gulf. Canadian model really isn't showing anything at this point, even over the southeastern United States, maybe a bit of a front that comes in that particular area, but you can see this is pretty inconclusive too for that same time period of next Friday, you do see some showers over the Gulf, but there's really no pressure drops in that area either. And finally, we'll go to the icon, which only goes out 7 days. But what's interesting about the icon is on that seventh day, it has something a little more similar to what the GFS was showing, with a bit of a low pressure area developing over Florida and then perhaps drifting off toward the west. So let's stop that here on Friday, July the 18th. And remember, the GFS had a bit of a low here, and the icon model has a bit more of a low in this area. Remember, the Canadian didn't show anything, and the euro kind of had a bit of a front in this area, which could possibly get low pressure trying to develop a little bit farther down the road, which is interesting because the Euro tropical formation forecast that was updated yesterday still has the East Coast highlighted with more than a 20% chance that a tropical cyclone would pass in that area, but you can still see there's some pink there over the northeastern part of the Gulf. So it isn't as conclusive as what we were seeing yesterday, but it is something that's still over a week out, and it's something we're going to have to continue to watch. But it also is interesting that the Global Tropics Hazard Outlook that came out on Tuesday, and we were able to show this to you on Wednesday, it does highlight the northern part of the Gulf Coast and the eastern part of the Gulf waters too. So the Global Tropics Hazard Outlook is also showing the possibility of some development a little over a week from today. So this again is the time to get yourself prepared, get the items that you need. If any tropical weather starts to head our way, you'll be ahead of the game by having the supplies that you need, and also make sure you're putting those plans together in case we get something big that comes our way over the course of the hurricane season that would prompt any evacuations or for people to move. So at this point, I don't think we're going to have to deal with a whole lot here over the next week, but I would start paying attention to the southeastern U.S. here as we get into the early part of next week, especially if the models continue to stay consistent, at least showing some signs of tropical development there over the southeast. Well, I hope you enjoy Let's Talk Tropics. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also turn on those notifications. You can hear my forecast every day on Big 102.1, Planet Radio 106.7, and Freedom 95.1. And of course, if anything decides to sneak up, or if there's any severe weather that happens locally, you can catch that on my social media pages, both on Facebook and X. And thanks to everyone who's already subscribed to Acadiana Weather Today right here on YouTube. I hope you all have a great rest of your Thursday, and I hope you'll join me for Acadiana Weather Today Friday morning at 7 right here on Acadiana Weather Today. And of course, we'll do Let's Talk Tropics again live at noon on Friday. Have a great Thursday. I'm Meteorologist Dave Baker. I'll see you tomorrow.